we're making classic candied yams, and I just know you're gonna love them. You can use this recipe all season long, whether it's for your Thanksgiving table, your holiday table, or just if you want to indulge in some really delicious, unbelievably sweet and yummy and sticky and glorious candied yams. You got the recipe. So let's get to it. It's actually pretty straightforward and pretty easy. I'm gonna make mine all in a big pot, which I find to be really my favorite method of doing this. I took some sweet potatoes and I'm cutting them into pretty big chunks, like into thick slices. I want them to be about 3/4 of an inch thick, and I'm gonna plunge them into some water. Now, it's important that your potatoes are not too thin or not too big. I cut them into, like, I guess, really thick coins. The water is cold. I haven't brought it up to a boil yet. You always want to start your potatoes of any kind in cold water. This is the size that I prefer, just so that way they stay intact more. And all I'm going to do at this point is just bring these to a boil. Once they come to a boil, I'm going to add a pinch of salt, and I'm going to boil them for about 10 minutes. They're not going to be fully cooked through. They're going to be barely halfway cooked through, but that is what we want. So once they boil for 10 minutes, I will show you the next part, which is when we introduce all the sticky goodness that is going to make these so fantastic you cannot even imagine. My sweet potatoes boiled for 10 minutes. Remember, I timed it as soon as it came back up to, as soon as it came up to a boil. I put my timer on for 10 minutes. I drained them, but I did reserve about a cup of the water from the potatoes that they were cooking in, and then I discarded the rest. Now, also, keep in mind, calm down. This does have sugar, okay? It does have a lot of butter. They are candied yams. They are meant to be really rich. They are meant to be sweet. It's something you eat around the holiday season, and only around the holiday season, at least around me anyway. I don't eat sweet potatoes much aside from that. So we're gonna just indulge and devour. I've got my butter melted. I'm gonna add both kinds of sugar. I've got granulated sugar and brown sugar, and I'm just tossing that in there. Just sort of incorporate the two and just get that melting and going. To that, I'm going to add the zest and juice of one beautiful, big, juicy orange. If you want to omit it, you can. It's not super traditional, but I think it adds a really nice note to this that almost feels like it cuts some of that sweetness, and it helps make a really beautiful, like, syrupy emulsion that I love. And it's going to be so good, and it just smells of the holidays, in my opinion. Yes. Touch of nutmeg and some cinnamon. Not much though, because I don't want this to feel like a pie. Then we're gonna add in my water, and then I'll add the potatoes back in. And the potatoes, as you can see, you want to use a vessel that is big enough to kind of hold all your potatoes just about in like a single-ish layer. We will maneuver things around, so I'm not concerned about that. I'm gonna put the lid on. I will turn these down to simmer, and they'll need to simmer until the potatoes are very tender, which will take about, I would say, 20 minutes or so. I'll just leave it a little bit open so that steam can escape, and I'll show you what they look like when they're there, and we'll chat towards the end. Sweet potatoes are fully cooked. You can see they started to fall apart. You want to make sure you pull them out just before they start to fall apart, because you want them tender, but you don't want them mashed. And I want you to see what our syrupy sauce is looking like. I just left it on the burner. I literally just took them out, and I increased the heat to about medium-high. I'm gonna add just a little bit of pecans, of chopped pecans. You don't have to, but just, I love that flavor. And I just feel like a pecan on a yam is just like so iconic, and I love it when I make my just regular sweet potato casserole. So, and you can see it's like syrupy and delicious. I like to let this go for like 30 seconds because that heat is also like toasting those nuts as well, really bringing out their flavor. But that is just sensational and beautiful. I'm gonna grab a fork, and then really all I'm gonna do is just take this unbelievably rich, delicious goodness Look at that. They are the very stuff of dreams. And I will say this, they're very, very rich. So a little goes a long way. So you don't have to make, I wouldn't say to make double the batch if you're having, say, 8 people or so. Because you got to think about the fact that people are only going to take 1 or 2 pieces per person because they're so big. They are unreal. I mean, I already know they're delicious, but I'm very excited to dig into this. And one more thing I wanted to mention, because they're done all in one pot, you don't have to worry about having to put something else into the oven if your oven is going to be really full to capacity on your Thanksgiving day. Hot. They are so good. They're delicious. They're sweet, but they're not too sweet. I know that sounds crazy. The orange is a must-have. The nuttiness of the pecans, so fantastic. I think they're perfectly balanced. If you ask me, go to laurainthekitchen.com for the written recipe. I hope you enjoy spending time with me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.